Hey friends, welcome to the show. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day or night. So, today's episode is a little bit different since somebody in the comments said they wanted to hear Raven read some of the books that are just lying around in the world of Skyrim. So, I thought today we could do that. This is actually an old save because the one I'm playing on right now seems like the music is glitched out and there's no more music left, so I don't know, one of the mods must have done it. It's a silent world, and I wanted the Skyrim music to at least be playing while we read this. Alright, so here's the book we're going to be looking at. It's The Wolf Queen. The Wolf Queen series is one of my favorites, so I thought you guys might like to hear it too. From the pen of the 1st century 3rd era sage, Montokai. Year 63 of the 3rd era. In the autumn tide of the year, Prince Pelagius, son of Prince Uriel, who is son of Empress Kintyra, who is niece to the great Emperor Tiber Septim, came to the high rock city-state of Camlorn to pay court to the daughter of King Volstead. Her name was Quintilia, the most beauteous princess in Tamriel, skilled at all the maidenly skills, and an accomplished sorceress. 11 years a widower, with a young son named Antiochus, Pelagius arrived at court to find that the city-state was being terrorized by a great demon werewolf. Instead of wooing, Pelagius and Quintilia together went out to save the kingdom. With his sword and her sorcery, the beast was slain, and by the powers of mysticism, Quintilia chained the beast's soul to a gem. Pelagius had the gem made into a ring and married her. But it was said that the soul of the wolf stayed with the couple until the birth of their first child. Year 80 of the 3rd era. The ambassador from Solitude has arrived, your majesty, whispered the steward, Balbus. Right in the middle of dinner? Muttered the emperor weakly. Tell him to wait. No, father, it's important that you see him, said Pelagius, rising. You can't make him wait and then give him bad news. It's undiplomatic. Don't go then. You're much better at diplomacy than I am. We should have all the family here. Emperor Uriel II added, suddenly aware how few people were present at his dinner table. Where's your mother? Sleeping with the archpriest of Kinnereth, Pelagius would have said, but he was, as his father said, diplomatic. Instead he said at prayer, and your brother and sister? Emil is in first hold, meeting with the Archmagister of the Mages Guild, and Galana, though we won't be telling this to the ambassador, of course, is preparing her wedding to the Duke of Narcissus. Since the ambassador expects her to be marrying his patron, the King of Solitude, instead, we'll tell him that she's at the spa, having a cluster of pestilent boils removed. Tell him that and he won't press too hard for the marriage. Politically expedient though it may be, Pelagius smiled. You know how queasy Nords are about warty women. But dash it, I feel like I should have some family around, so I don't look like some old fool despised by his nearest and dearest, growled the emperor, correctly suspecting this to be the case. What about your wife? Where's she and the grandchildren? Quintilia's in the nursery with Zephyrus and Magnus. Antiochus is probably philandering around the city. I don't know where Potima is, probably at her studies. I thought you didn't like children around. I do during meetings with ambassadors, in damp staterooms. sighed the Emperor. They lend an air of, I don't know, innocence and civility. Oh, show the blasted ambassador in, he said to Balvas. Potima was bored. It was the rainy season in the imperial province. Wintertide, and the streets and the gardens of the city were all flooded. She could not remember a time when it was not raining. Had it been only days, or had it been weeks or months since the sun shone? There was no judging of time any more in the constant flickering torchlight of the palace, and as Potima walked through the marble and stone hallways, listening to the pelting rain, she could think nothing but that she was bored. Estef, her tutor, would be looking for her now. Ordinarily, she did not mind studying. Rote memorization came easily to her. She quizzed herself as she walked through the empty ballroom. When did Orsinium fall? Year 980 of the First Era. Who wrote Tamrelian tractates? Cosi. When was Tiber Septim born? Year 288 of the Second Era. Who is the current king of Daggerfall? Morton, son of Gothlir. Who is the current Sylvanar? Varbarinth, son of Varbaril. Who is the warlord of Lilmoth? Trick question. It's a lady. Iowa. What will I get if I'm a good girl and don't get into any trouble, and my tutor says I'm an excellent student? Mother and father will renege on their promise to buy me a Daedric katana of my own, saying they never remembered that promise and it's far too expensive and dangerous for a girl my age. There were voices coming from the Emperor's stateroom. Her father, her grandfather, and a man with a strange accent, a Nord. Potima moved a stone she had loosened behind a tapestry and listened in. Let us be frank, your Imperial Majesty, came the Nord's voice. My sire, the King of Solitude, doesn't care if Princess Golana looked like an orc. He wants an alliance with the Imperial family, and you agreed to give him Golana, or give back the millions of gold he gave to you, to quell the Khajiit rebellion in Torval. This was the agreement you swore to honor. I remember no such agreement, came her father's voice. Can you, my liege? There was a mumbling noise that Potima took to be her grandfather, the ancient emperor. Perhaps we should take a walk to the Hall of Records. My mind may be going. The Nord's voice sounded sarcastic. I distinctly remember your seal being placed on the agreement before it was locked away. Of course, I may verily be mistaken. We will send a page to the hall to get the document you refer to, replied her father's voice, with the cruel, soothing quality he used whenever he was about to break a promise. Potima knew it well. She replaced the loose stone and hurried out of the ballroom. She knew well how slowly the pages walked. Used to running errands for a doddering emperor, she could make it to the Hall of Records in no time at all. The massive ebony door was locked, of course, but she knew what to do. A year ago she caught her mother's Bosmer maid pilfering some jewelry, and in exchange for her silence, forced the young woman to teach her how to pick locks. Potima pulled 2 pens off her red diamond brooch and slid the first into the first lock, holding her hand steady and memorizing the pattern of tumblers and grooves within the mechanism. Each lock had a geography of its own. The lock to the kitchen larder, 6 free tumblers, a frozen 7th, and a counterbolt. She had broken into that just for fun, but if she had been a prisoner, the whole imperial household would be dead by now, she thought, smiling. The lock to her brother Antiochus' secret stash of lewd Khajiit photography, just 2 free tumblers, and a pathetic poisoned quill trap easily dismantled with pressure on the counterweight. That had been a profitable score. It was strange that Antiochus, who seemed to have no shame, proved so easy to blackmail. She was, after all, only 12, and differences between the perversions of the cat people and the perversions of the Cyrodiils seemed pretty academic. Still, Antiochus had to give her the diamond brooch, which she treasured. She had never been caught, not when she broke into the Archmage's study and stole his oldest spellbook, not when she broke into the guest room of the King of Ghislaine and stole his crown the morning before Magnus's official welcoming ceremony. It had become too easy to torment her family with these little crimes. But here was a document the Emperor wanted. For a very important meeting. She would get it first. But this was the hardest lock she ever opened. Over and over she massaged the tumblers, gently pushing aside the forked clamp that snatched at her pins, drumming the counterweights. It nearly took her a half a minute to break through the door to the Hall of Records, where the Elder Scrolls were housed. The documents were well organized by year, province, and kingdom, and it took Potima only a short while to find the promise of marriage between Uriel Septim II, by the grace of the gods, Emperor of the Holy Cyrodiilic Empire of Tamriel, and his daughter the Princess Galana, and His Majesty King Montiarco of Solitude. She grabbed her prize and was out of the hall, with the door well locked before the page was even in sight. Back in the ballroom, she loosened the stone and listened eagerly to the conversation within. For a few minutes, the three men, the Nord, the Emperor, and her father just spoke of the weather and some boring diplomatic details. Then there was the sound of footsteps and a young voice. The page. Your Imperial Majesty, I have searched the Hall of Records and cannot find the document you asked for. There, you see, came Potima's father's voice. I told you it didn't exist. But I saw it. The Nord's voice was furious. I was there when my liege and the Emperor signed it. I was there. I hope you aren't doubting the word of my father, the sovereign Emperor of all Tamriel, not when there's now proof that you must have been mistaken. Pelagius's voice was low, dangerous. Of course not, said the Nord, conceding quickly. But what will I tell my king? He is to have no connection with the imperial family, and no gold returned to him as the agreement, as he and I believe the agreement to be. We don't want any bad feelings between the Kingdom of Solitude and us, came the Emperor's voice, rather feeble but clear enough. What if we offered King Montiarco our granddaughter instead? Potima felt the chill of the room descend on her. The Princess Potima? Is she not too young? Asked the Nord. She is 13 years old, said her father. That's old enough to wed. She would an ideal mate for your king, said the Emperor. She is, admittedly, from what I see of her, very shy and innocent, but I'm certain she would quickly grasp the ways of court. She is, after all, a septim. I think she would be an excellent Queen of Solitude. Not too exciting, but noble. The granddaughter of the Emperor is not as close as his daughter, said the Nord rather miserably, but I don't see how we can refuse the offer. I'll send word to my king. You have our leave, said the Emperor, and Potima heard the sound of the Nord leaving the stateroom. Tears streamed down Potima's eyes. She knew who the King of Solitude was from her studies. Montiarco, 62 years old, and quite overweight. And she knew how far Solitude was, and how cold, in the northernmost clime. Her father and grandfather were abandoning her to the barbaric Nords. The voices in the room continued talking. Well acted, my boy. Now make sure you burn that document, said her father. My prince? Asked the page's querulous voice. The agreement between the Emperor and the King of Solitude, you fool. We don't want its existence known. My prince, I told the truth. I couldn't find the document in the Hall of Records. It seems to be missing. By Lorcan, roared her father. Why is everything in this palace always misplaced? Go back to the hall and keep searching until you find it. Potima looked at the document. Millions of gold pieces promised to the Kingdom of Solitude in the event of Princess Galana not marrying the king. She could bring it in to her father, and perhaps as a reward, he would not marry her to Monte Arco. Or perhaps not. She could blackmail her father and the Emperor with it, and make a tidy sum of money. Or she could produce it when she became Queen of Solitude to fill her coffers and buy anything she wanted. More than a Daedric katana, that was for certain. So many possibilities, Potima thought, and she found herself not bored anymore. Oh wow, that's very unfortunate. Well, I guess we'll have to find out what she does next in the next episode. Thanks for watching, friends. I know I'm not very good at reading out loud, but hopefully I'll get better with practice. Alright, I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.